Everybody, this is James.
Marco.
Nabil.
And Mikey.
And this is the Movie Palace podcast number 198. Today we are continuing our voyage into Star Trek with a review of Star Trek Beyond, followed by a review of the new horror film, Clown in a Cornfield. Without further ado, let's get it in. So, Voyage into Star Trek, we are nearing the end of this journey, finally. Much to the delight of some of our listeners, I think. So we've done every motion picture so far. Technically, we are now on the very last one that was released in theaters.
I mean, and it probably won't. There's not one coming
for now,
Thus far.
As of today, yeah. True. So this is the end of a journey, almost somewhat. You know, it's almost controversial if we're going to do one more, but I guess we will. So,
gotta be thorough.
Let me give you some behind-the-scenes fact of 2016's Star Trek Beyond. Director Justin Lin, who previously revitalized the Fast and Furious franchise, brought a unique energy to Star Trek Beyond. A lifelong fan of the series, Lin was deeply influenced by Star Trek for the Voyage home as a child. His vision for Beyond emphasized the importance of unity and exploration over conflict. He also deliberately avoided heavy reliance on callbacks or nostalgia, aiming instead to push the narrative forward while still honoring the franchise's core values.
Simon Pegg, who returned as Montgomery Scott, also co-wrote the screenplay with Doug Jung. The original draft, written before Pegg's involvement, was reportedly rejected by the studio for feeling too generic and action-oriented. Pegg's version was crafted to more fully embrace classic Trek themes such as cooperation, diplomacy, and the challenges of exploration. He aimed to write a story that celebrated the 50th anniversary of Star Trek by grounding the film in character-driven moments and philosophical ideas rather than simply action spectacle.
The destruction of the USS Enterprise early in the film was a bold creative choice suggested by Justin Lin. Rather than relying on the ship as a narrative crutch, Lin wanted to strand the crew on an unfamiliar planet and highlight their resilience, intelligence, and teamwork when stripped of their technological comforts. This concept harkens back to the original series' focus on character dynamics and problem solving, and it allowed each crew member to contribute meaningfully to the resolution of the conflict.
The Yorktown space station was one of the most visually ambitious elements of Star Trek Beyond. Designed to represent a hopeful future of peaceful interstellar cooperation, it was imagined as a massive hub floating in deep space, with cityscapes curving in all directions due to artificial gravity. The design team consulted astrophysicists, including Dr. Adam Frank, to create a structure that was both scientifically plausible and visually stunning. The Yorktown wasn't just eye candy. It symbolized the Federation's ideals as their most utopian, making its potential destruction a powerful thematic thread.
Thank you. And without further ado, let's get into our review of Star Trek Beyond.
Mr. Sulu, you can fly this thing, right?
You kidding me, sir?
This Friday.
Let's hope this doesn't get messy.
What is this?
I know your kind.
You have no idea who we are.
Okay, Star Trek Beyond, released in 2016, sitting on Rotten Tomatoes at an 86%. The synopsis for this one goes: when the Enterprise is ambushed during a rescue mission in deep space, the crew is stranded on a hostile planet and must work together to stop a mysterious enemy threatening the Federation's future. Ooh. Directed by Justin Lin, who did Annapolis in 2006, The Fast and Furious, Tokyo Drift in 2006 also, Fast and Furious in 2009, Fast 5 in 2011, and Fast and Furious 6 in 2013.
Some would say this man saved the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah.
I don't know who. Some would say.
Well, I love Tokyo Drift, man.
Yeah, it's great.
Yep. Still one of the best ones. You heard it here. Written by Simon Pegg, who did Shaun of the Dead in 2004, Hot Fuzz in 2007, Run Fat Boy Run in 2007, Paul in 2011, and The World's End in 2013. Also by Doug Jung, who did Confidence in 2003 and The Cloverfield Paradox in 2018. Once again, based on Star Trek by the great Gene Roddenberry. Released in June 22nd of 2016. With a budget of 185 million and a box office of 343.5 million,
It
Making
actually
it-
lost money.
Yeah, not a hit.
It lost about $50 million
Jesus Christ.
because you got
That's,
to put in for like
factor
advertising.
marketing.
It's almost
Yeah,
got to be double
marketing.
the amount plus a little more
Yeah.
to be like quote unquote successful. And this was the first one out of the three that didn't make money actually.
Yeah, especially with as much money pumped into this thing.
Yeah, quite a bit. I think it's the biggest budgeted one too.
$185 million is no small.
That's a lot of money.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, especially for 2016. Starring Chris Pine, who's reprising his role as James T. Kirk. Zachary Quinto coming back as Spock. Carl Urban coming back as Leonard McCoy. Zoe Saldana as Nyota Uhura. Simon Pegg as Montgomery Scott, or Scotty. John Cho as Hikaru Sulu. Anton Yelkin as Pavel Chekhov. Idris Elba as Krall / Captain Balthasar Edison. And Sophia Botella as Jayla. So again, like we've done with our previous installments, we're going to go with our history with this film in the franchise. And I'll start with Mikey. What is your history with Star Trek Beyond?
Well, my history is I've seen this once in the theater when it first came out, and I've never seen it since. It wasn't anything bad about it. I remember being pretty decent, but I guess just never really had the calling to come back and watch it again. I've watched a lot of the previous two before, but this one I never really went back to.
Sounds fair. What about you, BDJ? What's your experience with Star Trek Beyond?
I'm pretty sure we all saw this together, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, like there's a high chance I'm pretty sure we saw this together. So
Yeah.
I saw it only once as well, by the way. I never rewatched this movie. I remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but the trailers were awful for this movie when they were coming out.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
we weren't sure
they
what
were.
they were trying to market for the film, like what we were watching.
Yeah, so it was like you know, J.D. Abrams wasn't involved anymore outside of being a producer, and then they bring in Justin Lin, and then the trailers were just playing that Beastie Boys song every time, and I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know if this is the right way to go. So I remember not being excited for this one as much as I was on the previous two. And for someone that's not even a Star Trek fan, that's like a big deal because I can only imagine some people were probably put off by it as well. But like Mikey said, I saw it once. I actually remember from my original review, I read it. I actually did enjoy it quite a bit more than I had anticipated at the time.
Good stuff. What about you, Nabil? What's your history with Star Trek Beyond?
I'm gonna give you guys a spoiler here, but I saw this with everybody in the theater, and I had the exact same sentiments as everybody here. That's the only time I've seen it. Never went back to see it again. I also, just like James, remember enjoying it more than I thought I was going to enjoy it, and I think my memories of it are better than maybe when I actually watched it because it was something I didn't want to taint, maybe because I really haven't gone back. Like I think I even owned it at one point on Blu-ray for a little bit until I got a 4K version. But I don't think I actually watched it on Blu-ray when I bought it. I just had it.
You had to complete it. You're like, I already got the other two.
Exactly.
Might as well. Similar to you guys, but I think I actually saw it twice prior to this time. And I agree with James. I think the marketing was terrible. I think the whole Beastie Boys song in the trailer kind of turned me off to it. It felt like they were trying way too fucking hard. And I was like, oh, man.
Like,
what's
look,
gonna
we're
happen?
hip. Come on, Star
They
Trek.
paid a lot for the track. They got to use it.
Yeah. And I think at this point, too, like Marvel's at its high right now, 2016. And I was mainly thinking about that. And I was like, I don't know about this Star Trek movie.
Star
I
Wars
feel
had
like
just come out 2015. We thought it was going to be good. So
That too is like, well, you got way too much competition right now. Like, do we really need this right now? You guys have waited way too long for these sequels. But when actually seeing it, I actually thought it was better than what the trailers led it to be. Like, the marketing was fucking terrible for this movie. Aside from that, though, I didn't really think that it was as bad as everyone thought it was at the time, but that's just me. So with that being said, how do we feel about the movie? We'll go backwards. Nabil, what were your thoughts of this movie?
After watching the other two parts of this trilogy back to back, this film didn't feel as enjoyable as I remember watching it the last time in the theaters, to be honest. It wasn't bad. I just remember really liking it more, and it just, like I was saying, I held that memory. In this case, though, I don't know if I felt the same way. And I was like, this is all right. I can definitely see that Simon Pegg wrote this because Scotty's got a lot more lines in this film.
I said, man, Scotty kind of a main character now.
Yeah, right. I'm like, okay, and just inserted himself in there. Not a bad thing. Like the dynamics are still great. I really enjoyed a lot of what we saw, but I feel like from story perspective,
Nick Frost is about to pop out of nowhere. Like,
yeah, might as well bring in all his friends, right? So it didn't feel as I don't know. I didn't feel the same way as it did the last time I watched it. That I could, that I was remembering at least.
Interesting. James, what about you? What were your thoughts of the film?
I gotta agree, man. I'll say this much: like the first half of this movie is pretty boring, actually. I was getting kind of like a little worried. I was watching it with my dad, and I was like, "Oh, I'm losing them. But it was definitely, you can definitely tell it's a different director from J.J. Abrams. I don't think it particularly looks that great either compared to the other two movies, where the spectacle, especially like coming off the IMAX enhanced like scenes from the second one, and then getting to the third one. I watched it on disc as well, and I was like, "Ooh, this doesn't look the greatest," It's really a kind of, but I get it. I do like the sense of exploration though in here. And I want to say, I mean, just from the movies we've seen, this feels the most like quote unquote Star Trek-y out of the three. Like this is the most like, oh, this is, but it felt more to me like one of those random like Next Generation movies we would see like 7 or 8 or whatever the heck it was.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this could have just been an episode of the show. And that was just like an hour and a half long, Some of the action's really good though. Some of it's really cheesy. There's some parts near the end where I was like, ooh, this is kind of strange. But overall, I still had a good time with it. It still was entertaining, but it wasn't as good as it was when I first, just like Nabil said, I had a much better memory of this movie than rewatching it. I was like, oh, never mind. So, or maybe I just become bitter in 9 years.
Probably.
So.
Mikey, what about you? What were your thoughts of Star Trek Beyond?
I kind of like this one. I mean, it does get kind of slow in the middle. And I see what James was saying. Like the first half it slugs along a little bit, but I mean, I like the bonding between, they kind of split off in pairs, and the bonding they have with some of the characters, the dialogue they have, just like the wear and tear that they kind of show in the beginning with with Kirk and Spock kind of making decisions to potentially leave the Starfleet, and those kind of things happening, and just the progression they have towards in the movie, I just thought were kind of interesting, and they weren't really portrayed in the other films as the same way, and so I kind of liked that part of it. And then James mentioned as well, like the action's pretty good. I thought the action was fun. Even the beginning action scene with all the little tiny ships that were like eating apart the Enterprise, I thought was pretty cool. So I just had fun with this one. I didn't even remember most of this movie. I remember some of the stuff on the planet, but that's about it. And so everything was kind of just almost brand new for me. And I enjoyed it. I had fun.
Good shit. I thought I was going to be in the minority, but I agree with you, Mikey. I really like this one, actually. I liked it better than when I originally watched it, truthfully. I think it's kind of like what James said. It really is a little bit more similar to what Trek is. It focuses more on character rather than the big overall threat. I mean, obviously there is an overall threat, but it really does, as we mentioned earlier, focus on how they're going to problem solve through this, how you can't always fight your way through something. You have to figure it out. You have to find different solutions in it. They did that. The overall themes of it as well, too, I think fit within Star Trek. And it felt more like an evolution from the event of the first Star Trek movie in this franchise, the Kelvin franchise, up until now. It felt like it was evolving into this. It started off the way it did, more action-packed, more kind of in your face explosiveness because of the event that happened in the first movie. And now it's sort of like course correcting into where they are now. And I think that it handled it perfectly. Also, yeah, the special effects, they do kind of suck in this one. Like I found myself kind of looking at it and
it's
like,
a
wow,
step down from the other one.
It did. I think that's really what hindered the movie the most, but everything else pace-wise, like I didn't find myself like bored. I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm different. I find myself liking more like character studies rather than just like an overall story. It's got to like compel me, and I have to actually care about the people in it. Otherwise, I'm just sort of like, okay, But that's
that describes exactly like I didn't care. For me, like it never got me to the point where I was like, oh man, I really hope it's gonna happen to these people. I was like,
yeah. I kind of feel the same way, James. I think too, like this kind of reminded me a little bit of Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, from the original whatever anthology of films from the Star Trek series, where they kind of paired off, like you guys are mentioned, and so it's like they're different people that weren't usually together, hanging out and doing their little missions, whatever. But I feel like the bonding in 4 was stronger than what we saw in this one, although the dialogue is still good. Like their characters are still interesting and they're funny. I just think that from a storytelling perspective to what you're saying, Marco, I don't feel like it was as impactful, or like I was as concerned of what was going to happen to them as I was in the other two films.
Well, let's get into that a little bit more, because the plot has these characters. They're stranded on this planet because, you know, there's no spoiler. I think it's even in the trailer. And if you haven't seen it by now, I'm sorry, the movie's almost 10 years old. The Enterprise is completely destroyed.
John's like, fuck.
I know. He's like, oh shit, here's another one I'm gonna miss. Oh no.
Oh no, God, hold me back. Don't give me the voodoo password, God.
So the Enterprise gets utterly destroyed by these small ships, like Mikey said, and it just gets obliterated. And they get stranded on this planet and find that these aliens are after something. They're after something on the ship, and they're kidnapping the crew. And the team is separated in pairs. Like, what is there any part of that did, because like that worked for me? Like, what, like, I'm curious as to and I'll leave this open for you guys, particularly James and Nabil, but Mike, you can chime in too, because they're the ones that didn't really like this one. Yep. I'm curious to hear what part of that didn't work for you. Was it specifically that, or was
it just took a long time to get to that point, I think, man. And then even when they crash land on the planet, everyone gets like their moment, which is fine. But then it takes a long time for me to get the plot going. Like, did Kirk really need to go back to the ship after it just crashed to go do some hijinks in there to reveal that the weird vagina face looking lady was a bad person, right? I don't know who the hell she was. Like, was that even... That whole scene could have been cut and the pacing would have just kind of kept going, man. Because that was just like, man, you see, I get it. They're doing more to show, like, the blown out ship. And, oh, where's the key part to it? And that was just stuff like that. And then even the stuff with, like, Jayla, like, okay, new character to me, but kind of just goes on a little bit too long. Like, I get it, you know? Like, I'm like, I get it. Just keep it going.
she kind of...
But even kick in.
I feel like she kind of represented what could have become of them. Like everyone she ever knew and everything was destroyed by this by these quote unquote aliens and stuff. And so she represented pretty much. I mean, she even lives in an old Starfleet ship. So I think like that's kind of why they focus on her. But I feel it. Yeah, they kind of overstayed their welcome with that. Nabil, what about you? Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, I don't usually 100% agree with James on these reviews, but it's weird. I had the same sentiments, you know. It's like, I liked how it opened and they were going on with Kirk about wanting to reassess being in space for so long. Like that's stuff that Picard dealt with a lot, and I like that aspect of him, like thinking about, I don't know if this is for me. I think I want to be an admiral and be away from this. So I liked where it was going, but when the events happen. And like the action is interesting. It's a very long sequence, and I can see that they're trying to show like he's losing his crew. Like that's what's happening, and so we're sitting a long time with this whole thing. Okay, that's fine. When he crashes, though, like James said, then you're backtracking. You're going, I gotta go to the ship, and then Anton Yelkin's character,
dude. If I see them walk on a wall one more time in this movie, I was like, dude, we get it. Yeah, it's on its side. Relax.
Like it went on a long time.
I was like, oh, one more shot of them climbing up. Now they're back on the wall. Okay, let me go outside and kill myself.
Like we
See, I found that interesting.
It just drags it on, right?
14 times it was cool. Another 23 times I said,
you want the impact to last and have meaning. Like it was just dragging on. I'm like, okay, I feel for this, but how long am I supposed to keep carrying? Like let's keep moving forward, you know? Yeah. So there was that. And then I know we're going to talk about characters, but I remember from watching it originally, Jayla's character was just kind of like okay, she's there. Like we get a little bit of backstory from her, but I'm also like, what was the point of her being here? Like she found the ship and could fix it. That's the purpose of her being here, and she got it to a point where they were almost done. She just needed Scotty there to get it over the threshold.
Pegg wrote her into the script.
I know.
Let it be, okay? I get it. I get it.
Like, why is she there?
Can fix it, and it's her ship. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Well, she's also there for like Scotty's benefit, right? Like in terms of like,
I wonder why.
well, yeah, I mean, not in that way.
Sooner in the movie. Relax, Mikey.
But it doesn't really show like in the previous films, like Scotty having like a lot of empathy, and he really kind of comes down and like she's like walking away, and Kirk's like, just let her go, and he's like, no, she's going through the same stuff we are. So Marco kind of said it, like,
which
she's
is
kind of like showing them
such a change of his character.
But it does kind of develop it a little bit, right?
You brought up a good point because it echoes if previous movie he said we're supposed to be explorers, like what are we doing? And I feel like that's why he feels like that in this one, because it's continuing on his feeling from that.
That's how he wrote it. He leaned into that a lot more.
Yeah. Going into that a little bit more, Mikey, since we have you on, do you think this felt more like Star Trek because of the direction this took place, with stranding them on a strange planet, taking away the ship, and them having to figure it out on their own?
Yeah, I think it does. It definitely feels like a expanded episode, if you will. But it's got a classic feel. It's a singleized, isolated mission where they're all kind of just figuring stuff out together, and that kind of feels like an episode would be, where they just like beam down. They're just the whole episode is on the island, or not on the island, but on the planet. So yeah, it definitely has that kind of stuff with it. There's also a lot of moral like compasses, moral conflicts that are going on in the movie, which I feel like they do a lot in the shows and in some of the other movies as well. And then James kind of mentioned it before. There is a lot of sense of discovery in here, and I feel like that's a kind of a key element that they used previously.
I think it's
in the
almost
shows.
a double-edged sword, though. Like, honestly, that's probably why this movie didn't do as well. Honestly, because the last two had a formula, and they relied on nostalgia to a point, obviously, right? And then this one, they were like, "Oh, I didn't do nostalgia like we talked about in the behind the scenes," and it obviously hurt it really bad.
Well, I think we mentioned it before. Like Lynn was trying to progress the like kind of the whole thing.
Yeah,
right? He wasn't trying to do the same thing
as a third movie in a series. This could have been like a fourth or fifth kind of movie. Like they needed to have hit this one out of the park, especially like Mark was talking about in 2016 with the height of Marvel and Star Wars. Like, man, it just wasn't the right time for that. I think nowadays you probably can do it. But
I can see that.
But back in 2016, man, there's just like, dude, you needed to. No offense to like, fuck it, just do another search for Spock or something. I don't know, for something for the love of God. Find out Kirk has a son. Then that would have been like, oh no, we gotta fight each other. And then the Enterprise blew up in that one too, right? So.
Yeah. I think you have a good point there, James. Like, if this was the fourth film, like if they ended with another spectacle film for the third one and just kind of ramped up things and got them on their way, and then they did this in the fourth one to kind of restart a new trilogy,
I feel like it would have been
more
okay.
interesting. Yeah.
I think for God's sakes, like Marco was talking about, like Marvel was 2016 is all Marvel stuff. For the most part, man.
It was
4 movies a year.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Dude, like freaking Winter Soldier had come out at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So
Iron
then
Man
you get
3.
to this, and it's like a slower pace, kind of like a more. Don't get me wrong, the Star Trek fans probably really liked it, and it's more like exploration. But it's like, dang, it just wasn't for that certain movie going crowd. I think at the time.
Right. So I think we talked enough about what worked and what didn't work. We can get into characters. I know we talked about Scotty already, but how'd you guys feel about the rest of the crew in the Enterprise? Like how Kirk was presented, Spock, Bones, Uhura. I'll leave this open for anyone.
Bones was really funny again. Once again, I really like even his old character version. And then I like his interaction with Spock in this one. That's probably what worked the most for me.
It was just great pairing them together.
From nowhere, he just became a pilot, though. I was like, he's pretty good at finding stuff. Just kind of like how I just thought of Obi-Wan when I saw it, because I was like, Obi-Wan says he doesn't like to fly either, but he's a pretty good pilot. So I do want to bring up one thing though. Uhura is super underutilized in this movie.
Agreed.
Yeah. Once again, she's broken up with Spock for probably the 15th time. I kind of was over that plot too when that happened. I was like, if I see Uhura cry one more time in one of these movies, and first 5 minutes of movie, I was like, and she's back.
I also think Sulu and Chekhov kind of took a backseat a little bit. Like they have their own
Yikes.
moments,
Yikes,
but yeah,
Mikey.
they're not in the movie a lot.
More Sulu, I think, than Chekhov. Chekhov had his shine because he was with Kirk.
Kirk, yeah.
So he got to just play
This
off
is,
of him a little bit.
This is Anton Yeltsin's last film as well. He died
Yeah.
the month before this movie premiered. So
Yeah, rip. Oh, that sucks.
yeah, Sulu doesn't add much. They just were like, hey, look, he has a husband.
Which is funny because I actually like the character growth they were giving Sulu in these series. Like they were really fleshing out his backstory more, and then for him to kind of take a backseat in this a bit more.
He's
was a
always
bit
kind of the guy that he lets like take command when he's off the bridge too.
The dude can sit on the chair properly, man. He's always
Oh, yeah.
striking a pose when he sits down like that.
John Cho.
Future captain of the Excelsior, man. Hell yeah.
Relax, Mikey.
And I know we talked a lot about Jayla and how, she's just kind of there. But what about
I didn't like her look
villain?
either, by the way. The white and
It's
black.
You know what? It kind of grew on me. At first, I
Remind me of
didn't.
Anti-Venom
I
the whole
didn't
time.
It did feel a little lazy.
Venom?
It
Yeah.
did feel a little lazy.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. But thoughts on Crawl on the villain Crawl?
He's too
We didn't
OP,
really talk about him
man.
much.
That's what I think was the problem with this whole show,
They had a
or
nerve
this
his
whole
ass.
movie, was that they were just too overpowered, and he was super strong, and he knew too much for some reason, and even with his
But that-
little minion ships, whatever, that he was like attacking everybody, like all that was just way OP. But then they found the one thing, like in Star Wars, where he's like, this one thing can destroy him somehow, and he just like blows up the Death Star. Everything's done. It's great. And he
Right.
just to kill
I
him.
mean,
like
Let me play some music. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was the
I mean,
corniest
the
part
song-
to me, by the way.
the scene
I
was
get it.
cool.
I was like, come on.
Battle
guys.
was fun
Jesus
in space
Christ.
with the music. Like I was amped, and I forgot. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is great." But even after a while, they just end it. The song's just over, and we're done with the fight.
Follows the themes of the previous two movies, where in exploration they're gonna run into something they can't fight. Like in the first one, they couldn't fight against those Romulans. They were way too OP. In the second one, they were going against Khan, and he's a super soldier and super smart, and that freaking big ass ship. Like that was way
they were all OP, so they were like, hey, let's just
Yeah.
do it again for the third movie.
pretty much. Yeah, they were just following the same
It's
beat.
this
Only of
Dracula
course,
looking guy that takes the life out of people and looks like a eagle at the end of it.
Like
I was like, man, this
unstoppable,
movie is
and they
broken.
and they
for
overcame.
me, what didn't work is it wasn't all sunshine for me either. But the one thing that didn't work is they didn't really explain much about the tech that he had. Like, they just sort
Dude,
of like,
yeah,
it's
they're like,
there.
he
It's
found
just-
something
it's-
to keep himself alive forever, but
Yeah.
it had a crazy side effect to it all.
Yeah, that was the
I was
only
like-
thing I think that really about that didn't work for me. I didn't mind that he was too OP. I'm like, okay, fine, I get it. They got to find another way to beat this guy. They can't just use their fist all the time.
Like the
or their
ooze guy
guns.
from the Power Rangers movie a little bit in the beginning.
Professor Ooze. Ivan Ooze.
Yeah, tell your parents to buy it for you.
They should have combined the ships like the Power Rangers, and that would have defeated him. Just
They're
punch him
about
right in the face.
one or two shots away from doing it in this one.
That's funny.
I know we already discussed this a little bit, but what about the look of the film? I know there were some issues with the visual effects. You guys want to elaborate on that?
You could tell Justin Lin shot it.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say.
A lot of quick shots.
A lot of cuts.
Yeah.
The scene that you guys brought up too, the scene, especially the CG in it, when the music goes on and blows the thing, that scene looks terrible.
Yeah. The
It
explosion starts
actually looks better though than the motorcycle stunts, where I'm like, ooh, that CG looks bad. Where even
I
like
thought-
the
actually,
bodies
honestly,
are like kind of
I like
morphing.
the
That
I'm
looked
like,
okay to
ugh.
me. That looked okay to me. The scene where he's like when they go in to dock into the New York town, that looked bad. I was like, that's so weird because the last two movies had very similar scenes
Right.
where they did something like this and it looked awesome, you know.
Well,
Then
they
we
used
get to this
practical
one, I'm like,
effects too, right?
ugh.
I don't think this one
Truthfully,
used
the-
practical effects, did it?
This movie?
The ships and stuff?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
The best
Didn't
looking
look
scene,
like it.
truthfully, was when the Enterprise got messed up at the beginning. I think that's the only one that really looked good. You see like you even see like the smaller ships in close up. You see them crashing into the Enterprise, and I'm like, I think that's where all the talent went.
Well, I think that there was just too much on screen. Like the technology wasn't quite there. They were trying to accomplish something with those little ships. Just
They were trying to
all
do
at the
too
same
much
time.
because
It was
after a
just
while,
too
in the
much
middle,
of
I
this.
felt like it even bled into each other. The explosions.
Yeah. I think
And I
it
was
was
like,
just
hey, man,
oversaturating. It
Justin
couldn't
Lin.
handle it.
We get it. There's a lot. We don't need 5 more minutes of this, dude. Just show the ship crashing.
Yeah.
What if I showed when they're trying to evacuate for the next 18 minutes? I'm like, I guess.
Outside of the CGI, though, like the whole movie was just brighter and more vibrant. Just had more color and stuff. It just in general just was kind of
on the planet. It does, but I don't think it's shot as well as the previous two, though.
No, agreed.
Yeah, it's definitely from a cinematography and director standpoint. There's a difference from what J.J. Abrams' vision was to what Justin put on screen. But I know that James and I specifically are talking down a bit more in the film. I want to iterate that I don't think this is a bad film. I think I was just more disappointed from coming off of the other two films.
Yeah, I still said it was entertaining.
Yeah, it was still a good film. Yeah. There's just a lot. There's just potential for a lot more that didn't come to fruition.
Like I said, I wish this was like the fourth movie.
Yeah.
Then I would have been like, oh no, they're setting something up probably too.
Mm-hmm.
Because now Jayla got into it. I wonder what happened to her.
Oh no! Right.
I was like, we'll find out soon.
Well, what happened to the admiral's daughter? Never showed up. She was supposed to be on the mission.
I was going to say, what were your guys' thoughts on the end, like, and how where we see the crew at the end?
I mean, it comes down to once again a fight between Kirk and, I guess, Balthazar is his name.
Somehow winning.
And he has to do something like, he's like, you have to unlock these 4 things like a freaking Legend of Zelda quest. So I was like, oh god, he's got to do a bunch of stuff in order to open that door.
Or Mass Effect, I get it.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but I do like the difference. Like, he actually he saw himself in Crawl and realized that this dude was lost just like him. Like, this is how
I thought you meant Crawl saw himself in the reflection of the glass. Said no blood. I don't think he cared.
No, and I like that Kirk actually tried to. He grew and he didn't just try to punch the guy. He tried to talk him out of it. And when he tells him, like, dude, you won. Like, what more do you want? Your mission is accomplished. And that still wasn't enough to bring this guy back. And then Kirk was like, all right, I got it in this guy. But at least he tried something different. And I did like that. I like that he tried to embody the values of the Federation.
So like, it sucked the soul out of some chick, right? Or something. That's what it did. The little device.
Yeah, like, it took your life force, man. Basically,
so that life force.
And then they end up using that for, the Rise of Skywalker. So.
So wait, did they take that and they put it into the system to kill everybody? How's that even work?
Yeah, basically, it's like, it elongated your life that way.
I also
let it happen.
Unlimited power,
I don't really understand his motivation. Like, he's angry at the Federation
because
the
stagnation of the Federation.
They never looked for him.
But I mean, they couldn't get to that nebula. They even said this is the only ship they had was Enterprise that could actually make it through it. Like,
and it made it through in less than 5 seconds, by the way.
No, we don't even see them really going through it.
He wanted to forever live in conflict. He did not favor peace because he
from a
grew up in war.
Background and
like the Xindi War that they mentioned, which is a callback to the show Star Trek Enterprise. RIP was actually one of their first deadliest war. And it really tested them. So again, and if you kind of know the Star Trek lore, you're kind of, when he mentions that, you're like, oh, okay, this guy's gone. He's there, coming back from that, because it was a pretty traumatizing war, pretty much. Would you want to see, based on, I know this is probably not the appropriate question after what we just said, but still, would you have wanted to see a Star Trek 4 after this?
I mean, supposedly it might still come out.
Yeah, there's a rumor it's in development
a year ago still. So, I mean, they might do it, honestly. So, I mean, I'm down to see them, but I mean, it's been a long time now at this point. This is gonna be.
I almost feel like another reboot would be better.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. Even though like this one to me wasn't the greatest, but I still had fun watching it. I can't believe they didn't make. They started focusing more on like streaming shows and all this stuff. It's like, dude, I think they lost out on a big opportunity here of making more. They should have been, like I told you guys last week. There should have been like 8 of these movies by now, man.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
Truthfully, honestly, I didn't agree with James when he said that last time, but after watching this one, I actually, weirdly enough, I agree, because it felt like they were going into the right direction that the old school fans would have wanted, marrying the direction that the new school fans would have wanted, and it would have like eventually balanced out, which I feel like, again, I keep saying this, Strange New Worlds does that, I think, perfectly. So,
well, I like all their shows that are new after this. Like Picard was good, I thought. Strange New Worlds, I'm just still going through it right now, but it's been amazing watch.
And so those wouldn't have existed without this style. They borrow a lot of elements from the Kelvin timeline, like the look of the ships, the good parts of the action. Like they they infuse those two things with the exploration, but they do it in a much more balanced way. So that's why I think, if we get a 4 with this crew, they might be able to pull it off. Who knows? With that, we've reached our rating of this movie, and if we'd recommend this, I'll go ahead and start with Nabil. What's your rating for Star Trek Beyond?
Again, as much as I was slagging on it, it is a good film. I did enjoy it, and I like seeing these characters, and I would like to see this again. But yeah, I gave this a 3.5 stars out of 5.
Wow, okay. Surprising. But good rating. Mr. BDJ himself, what do you rate Star Trek Beyond?
Well, you got to start with the people that didn't like it as much. You know what? Just because of that, I give this one a 3.
Damn.
No, honestly, just because it was pretty mid for me.
Yeah.
I would still recommend it, though. If you like the other two, check it out.
Yeah.
I still think the Kelvin Timeline is the best set of movies out of all of these, unfortunately. So, spoiler alert.
Mikey, what about you? What do you rate Star Trek Beyond?
I also gave this one a 3.5. So I liked it. I thought it was fun.
I really
liked
this.
it.
3.5.
I did like it. The 3.5 is above average, so that's a good score. I didn't like it as much as Con, which I gave 4. So it's like you got to kind of judge it in the
Star
in the
Trek
context
2?
of the shows. Yeah, no, the one before this one, Into Darkness.
Oh, Into Darkness. Oh, sorry, you
Yeah.
said Con. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Well,
why are you
Con's in
comparing
this.
it? Why are you comparing it? You crazy.
I really like this one. Again, I think it's kind of back to form of Star Trek with blending in the new stuff. I give this one 4 stars. I really like this one, dude. I really enjoyed watching this one.
All right, let's move on now to our review of Clown in a Cornfield.
They're really big on tradition around here.
Every year, there's this parade where everyone gathers around a friendo float.
Friendo? It's the clown on all the Bay Pen corn syrup labels. He's practically a local legend.
Smile, silly girl. You're about to become a sensation.
Be careful who you hang out with. There's some real weirdos at this town.
Clown in a Cornfield, sitting at a 74% on Rotten Tomatoes. Quinn and her father have just moved to the quiet town of Kettle Springs, hoping for a fresh start. Instead, she discovers a fractured community that has fallen in hard times after the treasured Bay Pen corn syrup factory burns down. As the locals bicker amongst themselves and tensions boil over, a sinister grinning figure emerges from the cornfields to cleanse the town of its burdens, one bloody victim at a time. Directed by Eli Craig, who is probably most famous for directing Tucker and Dale vs. Evil in 2010, as well as the Netflix horror comedy Little Evil in 2017. This is written by Carter Blanchard, who wrote Independence Day Resurgence 2016, not a good look, and as well as Eli Craig, who also wrote the films he directed. This is based upon the novel by Adam Caesar, released on May 9th, 2025 in theaters. It stars Katie Douglas as Quinn Maybrook, Aaron Abrams as her father, Dr. Maybrook, Carson McCormick as Cole, Kevin Durant as Arthur Hill, Will Sasso as Sheriff Dunn, Vincent Muller as Russ, Cassandra Potenza as Janet, Verity Marks as Ronnie, Ayo Solanke as Tucker, and Alexander Martin Deacon as Matt. So yeah, I'm gonna take a stab in the dark. You guys don't really read, so you guys didn't read this book, right? Just
No.
Okay.
As you said, I don't read. So
I assumed.
me no
It was
read
like-
good.
It was like, don't assume about me. I've read them all. All right, let's jump into what you guys thought of the movie before we kind of dive a little bit further into it. Let's start with, Let's start with you, Mikey. What did you think about the movie? As a side note, Mikey and I did see this together.
We did.
In the nude.
It was weird. I won't lie. I didn't expect. It was kind of hot in the theater.
Just popcorn. That's all he's got to say. It was just
Popcorn butter.
So I thought the story it was fairly basic, and I thought it was a little bit predictable. But that being said, I did think there was some pretty decent funny moments, some very memorable ones. Had pretty sweet gore. Kills were pretty nice, and it did have a couple twists that I did not expect whatsoever. So overall, I had fun with this one. I thought it was decent. It was pretty good.
Cool. What about you, Nabil?
Yeah, it started out really slow. It got funnier. I finally got to see some of the parts where it's like, okay, here's a Tucker versus Dale, or a Tucker and Dale versus Evil kind of situation, because it took a while to get there.
He didn't write this one, just so you know. So,
yeah. So because there was aspects of it, and I was waiting to see more of that comedy, lean in. But yeah, it was very mid for me overall.
Marco, what about you?
I thought it was fun. I don't think it was great, but I thought it was a fun popcorn flick. It was a nice surprise. I think it did a good job at blending horror slasher with comedic elements to it. Found myself chuckling quite a few times. I don't think the audience at my theater like understood what the movie was because I think I was the only one laughing. So there we go.
I think me and Mikey had a pretty good audience.
Yeah, everybody was laughing in ours.
We were all laughing at the parts, and especially the kills. Some were really over the top. We were like,
there was dead silence in my theater. I mean, then again, it was only like 10 people there. I saw it real late at night, so.
Ours wasn't too full either, but I think we have kind of a Thursday crew that we go with now from the look of it because I'm starting to recognize people.
Yeah.
And
hey Steve, how's it going?
It's getting to that point, boys. I'm not gonna lie to you. I enjoyed this one for the most part. It wasn't like great, like you said, but I thought it was good. It takes a lot of inspiration from other horror films, obviously, and you can if you're like a horror aficionado, you can definitely see a lot of the slasher films that it's going off of. So it's not very super original. I did like the twist though in it. It did subvert my expectations. I thought it was going to go in a certain direction, and then it ended up going into a direction where I did not expect that to go with, especially with the killer/killers in a way. Just a slight spoiler. I don't know. I never see the trailer for this, so I don't know if they show off anything in there. So I kind of went in pretty blind outside of just hearing about it and listening to the guy that wrote the books. There's like 3 of them. So, but outside of that, I liked it. I agree with Marco. It's just a fun movie. Kills were cool. They were gory. We had, like I said, me and Mikey had a good crowd, so everybody was into it. There was no one being super annoying about stuff. So overall, it wasn't bad, man. As a slasher, what did you think of it as a slasher then? Start with you, Marco. Did that work for you with the plot overall with it? Like as a slasher film?
I think it did. I found it akin to, I know this one's not really a slasher, but Cabin in the Woods,
a little
Jeepers
bit
Creepers type thing where they implement that dark comedy to it. Even parts of Scream are kind of comedic at times as well.
I would say Scream is more because they're self-aware of a lot of things.
Yeah, but this one kind of felt like it, but more for the audience as opposed to the characters. It was very akin to like 80s slasher movies where it's like ridiculous blood splattering everywhere. I really did like that because I think if you're going to do a slasher, like go all the way. So I think that it handled that,
which is kind of wild because this is based on like a YA novel, right? This deals with some pretty like adult stuff though.
Some of those YA novels push the boundaries, man.
I mean, the newest Hunger Games was pretty brutal too. So, what about you, Nabil? Was it scary for you? Did it work as a slasher? What didn't work overall?
There were some fun gory parts.
You said the pacing maybe, right?
Yeah, it's really, honestly, it was the beginning of the film. I thought they were going to play, I was expecting to play on the tropes of the stereotypical characters. So they had the jock, they had the cool kids. So I thought there was going to be like...
I mean, the black kid dies first. I mean...
I know. Well, I kind of figured afterwards, I was like, okay, they're kind of being more satirical. Like, they're going to kill the black kid first. But I go back to like Tucker and Dale. Like, it was very overt intentionally. And I think just because you had the commentary from the characters saying, what the hell are these guys doing? I almost imagine if they were in this film watching it going on in the background, it would have added that much more funniness, humor to it. But all that was like happening, and it took like 25 minutes before we got to like suddenly the clowns appear, and there's like a lot of stuff. And then when that happened, I was for it. I think this is definitely like you need to watch it in the theater with a good crowd because that helped the film. All the kills going on and all the random jokes that started hitting hit that much harder, and you enjoyed it more. But like that first,
I wish they leaned more into that a little bit more earlier on.
It was very vanilla, very early on. It took a while to get to where you wanted, what I was expecting.
Okay, Mikey, what worked for you? What didn't work for you overall? Like, did you think the plot was, without spoiling? Obviously, we'll have a spoiler section. Like, did you see where it was going to go? Did the mix of comedy work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of figured out what was going to happen before it happened. I mean, there was a couple twists that I didn't guess, but overall, I kind of figured out who or what the bad guy was. I kind of thought that one here. I mean, the story is pretty basic, right? I mean, it's not really super complicated. As far as like what didn't work for me, I feel like some of the relationships like happened in a snap. In the first 5 minutes, she's in school. She's already in with the in crowd, right? She's best friends
they all had
with
the
the whole
teacher, Mikey.
No, I get it. They had like common things, right? But it's like,
I think it's because
Literally just
for
showed up and
once,
she was in the in crowd.
you know what I will say though, it's like for once you have a character that is not like trying too hard. Oh, I mean, she's not like, oh, this is the weird girl. Like, no, she like makes friends super easy, which was kind of nice to see. Honestly,
I like that too, because then it would have continued that same trope where like the
it's the new
outsider,
girl.
yeah,
Great.
That
Here
would
we
have
go
been
again.
That would have been boring. Yeah.
So that I actually liked, Mikey, was the fact that she got in and like they all get detention together. That's why. So they're like, well, fuck it, this guy's an asshole. Well, but then Will Sasso, which is one of the randomest sheriffs. I was like, from Mad TV with the accents, and he's just like, stay away from that crew. They're bad.
Fucking Larry the Cable Guy.
But I'm not just talking about that one too. I mean, the whole Cole like romance kind of thing happened super fast too. Just everything happened really fast in the relationships, in my opinion.
Too fast for Mikey, too slow for Nabil. God damn it! Come on, somebody.
Yeah,
No, but like the story doesn't progress. So I agree with Nabil.
They're
as far
also
as that part
supposed to be
goes.
teenagers, and I mean stuff like that happens. And when she's coming from a
17, horny,
I would say she's coming. Yeah, she's coming from a traumatic thing that happened to her mom, going to a place she doesn't want to go to. She finds people that like her for who she is, and then they're shooting their little fucking indie films and all this crap. And
Yeah, but I think that's why it bothered me, is because she's kind of still mourning her mother passing away, and she's then making friends and stuff, right?
And well, just like the Marco special, like when you see someone wounded, you come on down like a vulture. Come on, Mikey, get with the story.
Let me save you.
That's what I would say. Is like she has a loss in her life, and she's just trying to fill it in. And so the romance for her is her way of feeling alive, I guess. Is how I would feel it out, because she's going pretty quick, right? If you guys know what I mean. She's like, I'm like, hey, me and Marco talked about it. You've known him for 48 hours. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I mean, once again, this is Marco special again. But I mean,
they are in high school. They're in a clique. She makes friends easily. She's running away.
So she's going crazy. I get it, Marco.
It's all escapism. She's just trying to run away from that and trying to run away from her fear. She even calls out her dad for that and says, all we're doing is running. But yet, at the same time, that's what she's doing as well, too. And so she course corrects that as the movie progresses, and she's in a fight or flight moment. She decides to fight.
Talked about Quinn. What about Cole, Nabil? What did you think about Cole, Arthur's son?
He was too cool. That's what he was. He's the rich kid that was too cool that everybody loved.
A little too cool, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He's a little too fast, too loose with his words.
Hey, put that vape down, you silly kid.
No, I mean, he's a fun character. I think I like the twist, and I like the joke where everybody just said, "Oh, it makes sense." So I was like, "That's
everyone in my theater too was like, even Mikey, we heard it like, oh, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, Cole, he was just kind of, I think, the driving force there to get Quinn, interested in the group and feel accepted. I don't think they really used his kind of stature they put in here, and there being like the oligarch's son, essentially. Like
they mention it, like he pays for the party. Yeah, even when they spill alcohol, they're kind of trying to show like he's not a dick. Obviously,
no,
he leaves like money for the guy because he's like, hey, we just can't buy it. But I mean, like, he leaves him a bunch of money supposedly. So
yeah, I didn't hate the character, and I think he was fine. It was a refreshing kind of take, so he wasn't just like the asshole the whole time. But I just feel that it was to what Mikey was already saying too. Like everything just kind of happened really quick. He just accepted this new girl, brought him in, but they did give him a little backstory, even with him and Russ. Like that was kind of cool to see that stuff fit in, and there was some history with him. In fact, I feel like we got more character development of Cole than we got of Quinn in some instances. So,
Quinn's is definitely by the end.
Yeah, we
there's
get
things that she has to kind of overcome.
Her.
Especially when she's by herself, I would say.
But Cole, he kind of plays like the generational gap, though, right? Because he's really not all the way in with the in crowd. He doesn't like help out with the pranks and stuff like that usually. And then he's also nice to the older generation, which is like the traditionalists. So I feel like he plays the gap pretty well. He's like the character that's not on either side, basically.
What did you think about his dad, Mikey? Arthur?
I mean, he's the typical traditionalist guy, right? I mean, he's getting down on Cole.
A little different than that, but yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll get to some stuff in the spoilers, I'm pretty sure. But I mean, he's getting down. He's trying to hold those values for the town, and he's trying to punish Cole, and his wife is like, "Oh, just let him go," and he's like getting mad at it. So, I mean, he's pretty typical as far as that one, town owner, I guess, or town mayor kind of thing, Where
I really
you know,
like Kevin Durant actually as an actor.
I like him too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I was surprised he was in it. I saw his face. I was like, "Oh, look at this! We got some."
He's got kind of a creepy
Gravitas.
factor to him too that really works in this movie.
Yeah,
I'll
with
say
his
that
hair
much.
too, like the
Yeah.
reddish brown hair. I was like, "Okay, I see. We see what we're getting with here.
Like
Something's
what's
about to
going on
happen."
there?
You can
Cleaning
tell he's
yourself
holding
up.
something back as well, especially when his wife lets Cole go and he like
After
really, we're
he
not gonna
just said
punish
you
him?
have to accept responsibility for the things that you do.
Exactly.
What'd you think of the overall look of the film, Marco? A lot of
It
nice scenes,
had-
obviously.
It had that kind of low budget look to it, but it worked. It worked for the type of genre it was, and made it look kind of like cult classic-y as well. And it fit well with the acting style too, because I mean, some of these actors obviously they're not really up there, so they don't really have the chops that say a seasoned actor would have. But it gives the movie that charm, and so because of that, the way it looks, the way it was filmed, gives it that kind of indie classic cult look that I think fits the genre pretty well.
Did you know that possibly technically we could have shot this movie?
Oh, I could tell.
This movie was only made for $1 million.
That's pretty
Well,
good.
yeah, just have $1
it
million
looks like
laying
it.
around, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean through financing and stuff like that, you could come up with something.
We can get a
Sell
Yeah,
one
business loan.
or two of your kidneys. We can get it.
We got this.
Marco's done favors on the street, you know.
We can shoot it with these babies right here, the iPhone, baby.
That's fine.
But honestly, yeah, for a movie that was made for $1 million, not
Honestly,
bad.
not bad. Yeah, not bad.
Honestly,
at all.
not bad. When you actually look at it in like the frame of like everything, like Shudder usually goes for pretty like low budget stuff, anyways. But this is probably one of their better looking things because I've seen some Shudder ones that look atrocious.
Yeah, it did look better than a lot of the ones on there.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice to see that they at least did that. What did you think about the kills, at least, Nabil?
The kills were fun. I'd
Some are
say
pretty over the top.
Yeah, some are over the top. I like.
How many times did you close your eyes?
There's a few stabby ones. I was
there
like,
was-
Nabil might not like this one.
the part where the guy's lifting weights. I didn't want to see them.
Oh, because you knew it was going to happen. By the way,
Yeah.
You're used to it.
I was like, nope, not gonna look at that. But definitely like the kills were fun. I enjoyed that part of it, and I liked it because like again, there's gore in it, but it's leaning into the funny part of it. So you're laughing with it too. You're
Yeah,
like, this is
when they find the
ridiculous.
girl that they get shot, they're like, "Oh, now you're playing with us," and they're all messing around the head.
Yeah,
I was
it's funny.
dying. That shit was hilarious, man. They're like, "Here," they're all throwing it, and then she's like, "I don't feel a pulse," and they're like,
Or the arrow, the kid goes like, "Oh, look, it's whatever his name is, Friendo or whatever," and he's like, just gets shot.
"No, yeah, shot right in the head."
I
Or the scene where
absolutely
they're like getting
died.
chased, and then like, dude, the way that the girl dies in that little house is like brutal,
Yeah.
dude. I was like, "Oh my god, man!"
Yep.
The rotary phone got me so
Oh,
hard.
that was
It was
hilarious.
so good.
How do you use this? They were just freaking out. We gotta
I
get
was
out
like,
of
yeah,
here. It's a
there's
trail.
that's probably
Buttons. Oh my
that's
god.
pretty accurate, and I feel like that's something that actually would
Oh, yeah,
happen.
one of my nieces or nephews who do that, there's no way. They'd be like, "We're dead. We're gonna die. We're gonna die." Okay, let's get. We want to talk more, but you really can't get into much more without doing the spoilers, guys. So let's just give our ratings. Would you recommend it? Start with you, Mikey.
I gave this one 3. I do recommend it. It was fun. Like it's like popcorn flick, as Marco said earlier. So yeah, just check it out. If you like the genre and you like the other movies, they're good.
Marco.
I give this one 3.5. I think it's very enjoyable. I think it's rewatchable. It's not that long too, so you can kick
3.5,
back,
you think?
watch some,
3.5?
watch it, throw some popcorn back, and relax.
Nabil, what about you?
Yeah, it was fine. I gave this 3 stars. I think if it wasn't for the cinema, going into the theater, I probably would have been like, watching it at home. So I think that makes the big difference with the star rating for me. But it's for a horror film, it's not too bad.
I would say 3.5. I had a lot of fun, like Marco. If you're a fan of slasher films, I would say definitely give a look at this one. It's nice to have a somewhat like unknown kind of horror film in theaters right now, especially with a lot of these kind of legacy sequels coming out lately. It's a brush of breath there, and once again, it was just I was getting desperate because Fight or Flight was just not the answer this week. This is one of the first weeks we had. Me and Mike did a little recon work beforehand, and
Oh, but luckily we got to see it early, right?
luckily, I guess, yeah, sure.
Well, yeah.
Luckily, yeah. Let's jump into our spoiler section now, so we can discuss a couple last things here. So if you want to skip this, go right ahead to our outro. In case overall, I think we'd recommend checking it out. Spoiler section. Okay. So there are multiple killers in this movie, which I will start by saying I didn't realize that. I thought it was going to be one guy the whole time.
Me too. Okay, so it wasn't just me because that was
thought, okay, well, I'll say this much. I almost thought it was Cole and Russ, by the way. I thought it was them.
That's what I thought too. I thought it was going to be like, oh, it's like Scream.
Scream,
okay.
yeah. And I was like, oh, they're doing that. And I was like, they're gay. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't, though. It's the old people. Mikey apparently knew this.
Yeah, I thought it was Arthur the whole time. And then I saw all of them and I was like, oh, it's just all the old people. Okay.
You're like, it's the teacher and the lady from the diner who's a bitch. Okay.
I actually, as a joke, said, oh, it's probably the teacher. And then later I was like, oh, no, maybe it's Art and Cole because they're going to borrow from Scream.
Because plus they showed like they were not there when certain things happened, right? He's like, where were you? He's like, I was looking for you guys. I was like, yeah, sure you were.
I mean, they played off.
We know
that,
where they
right?
really were, though.
And Cole gives the box out too, right? So kind of playing it off like he might be the killer.
He's like, we have a whole bunch of junk, but obviously he has a bunch of them because his dad has a bunch of them, right? He's like, oh, so that's what you mean. So Arthur is the ringleader, though. I gotta say, he looks pretty creepy at the end, man.
With the mask,
with the
face paint,
fucking clown makeup,
with the Marco look, yeah. That's Marco on a Thursday normally. It was really creepy. Like he's gone mad, basically, right?
I mean, he said he wanted to restart and have new kids because those other kids.
He totally is okay with killing his son, by the way, which is wild.
Yeah. It was interesting because the whole time they don't fully answer it, I guess, but they keep asking, why are they only attacking us? And why are they only taking Cole? And why,
see, that's when I thought to Bill, I was like, oh, these must be the workers from the factory, and they're going after them because like they're like, we lost our jobs because these stupid ass kids. So like, I'm just gonna kill these kids. I was like, it's probably the factory workers.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's literally because everybody was like, yo, these kids are punks, man.
Yeah, they just didn't like the kids. This generation.
They like to purge the riffraff if you act out a certain way.
Yeah, and they brought it up back in the 30s. They did this as like some gypsies, and Bill calls them. In the 60s, they were like hippies, and some people like Mikey, And then 90s, 90s, they were smoking the marijuana. So
they listened to grunge.
Yeah, no Nirvana here. Get that heart-shaped box out of here. So.
Well, I thought it was weird that he also set up his son to burn that place down, right? And then I was like, oh, that's kind of, I didn't expect that to happen because
a little twist.
I just expected him to just blame him for it because he did it, and it ended up just being him.
Trying to have his son
just disowned him.
His brother or sister had died the previous summer, right?
The sister, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think he was kind of just trying to be like, oh well, that like a Scooby Doo. Ah, damn, it didn't work. Now we'll try the next thing. I guess Plan B, murder them all. He orders 66 to basically.
Yeah. Execute order 66.
So it's weird though that at the end he just kind of disappears. He's like, "Oh, gotta get out of here."
After the movie, James was like,
didn't even realize that.
I didn't even know he escaped. I was like, "What the hell?"
I said, "Cool, Mikey. I'm glad you're paying attention." I was like, "No, he drove off, dude."
I was the same thing with my wife because I told her too. I was like, "He just left." Yeah, he just left. I was like,
he backs up the car, like, oh.
Yep, and it's just gone the rest of the movie. And then they fast forward, and it's like, so
I thought he was going to show up at the end. I was like, oh, he's probably in the back of the car.
Nothing.
It's clown makeup. That'd be creepy, But no,
or like underneath, like in Cape Fear.
Sit on the fence. Hey there. Sorry about the fireworks.
What you're reading?
What did you think about the real about Cole and Russ? By the way, the reason why they're not friends. Nabil, start with you.
It was funny. I thought it was okay. It was cute just to see it. I was like, okay.
Because Russ comes off as kind of a big dumb idiot.
Yeah.
No offense to the guy. I mean, that's what they're going for, obviously.
That's
right?
what they're going for. Yeah. It's a lover's quarrel, and he doesn't know how he feels about it. They're teenagers. I was like, this is adorable. Okay, we see where you're going with this. Yeah. Much more wholesome than what everybody probably would have assumed, which is the fact that they were probably the murderers. So
yeah,
I was like, I like what they did.
Are they killing? When they said that, though, I was like, oh, they're not the killers then.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't hate that at all. I thought that was
James
fun.
walked out of the movie theater saying that. I was like, so they weren't the killers?
No, well, Mikey's like, I'm tired of these woke ass goddamn movies. I was like, Mikey, relax. God damn it, man. We haven't even walked out of the theater yet.
No, I like the way this one played it out as far as like that whole aspect of stuff. It was a nice surprise, and it kind of fit with the whole storyline and why they were acting the way they were. So yeah, it's not bad.
What about overall the ending though? With them kind of combining forces, you've got Cole, Russ. I guess technically Cole's being hung at the end, but then Dr. Mabel comes and saves him, and Quentin breaks free. faces their fears of,
yeah, but they stayed, and he's running for mayor, and like,
yeah, because he sees the good in the town. He sees the good in the town.
He decides to stop running rather than just pick up and move like he did with his wife. He's gonna face his trauma and do something.
I guess that went over my head because my first thought would have been like, everybody's getting out of this town, right? Because it's fucking crazy. I guess not.
But that's the lesson they learned, the Bills. Like, they were running from their problems, and now they're gonna face them head on, and they have the support now with their friends, and
they find a place that they finally maybe belong. But meanwhile, Quinn is off going to college, right? Mm-hmm. She's gonna find her own path, and she finds a little box at the end, and it's like, oh, is he still alive? Because he is. He backed up the station wagon. He's still alive somewhere.
Yeah.
Mikey said
with Volvo.
Yeah, he's like, don't worry. Would you want to see another one of these? There's 3 books. And the movie was only made for $1 million and already made like 3. So I'm assuming it's already made its money back. So I mean,
the next one is going to have a budget of $2 million.
Yeah. It's going to be like Terrifier, where they're like, what if we gave him a little bit more this time?
I think because of the fact that it was multiple killers, I think that's what helped this movie work. And they could, who knows what other townspeople survived too, and who else is part of this?
Or part of it that just were revealed, because it seemed like there was a lot more, right?
So now they could seek their revenge now with the dad as mayor and everything. And then she comes back from college. She's like, no,
I don't know if anybody knows the books though. Is it a different town, or is it like a time jump? Like,
I didn't look them up just in case the movies ever come out. I don't want to be ruined, spoiled by it. Because as soon as you read the back, you're like, oh, well, great, Yeah. Any final thoughts, guys?
We haven't really mentioned him, but I like the dad. Like, his character was pretty good. His progression was pretty nice throughout the movie. Plus, they had that whole scene where the guy had his hand blown off.
His hand is blown off.
It's like he's doing surgery on it, and he's like,
dude, what is he even doing at that point? I would have been like, yo, you're gonna have to cut that hand off, dude. I don't think you're saving that thing.
When he stabs the guy, he's like, no, don't pull it out. And he pulls it out, starts bleeding. He's like, see, that's what I tried to tell you.
Yeah, he just died. He's like,
I was fucking dying, dude. Like, I couldn't breathe, dude.
I can imagine Marco was the only guy laughing hysterically loud in the thing. That everyone's like, can that guy shut the hell up?
Well, I saw it with friend of the pod, Sonny, and we were the only ones laughing. Like, everyone else, I think there was actually one other person that laughed, like, once or twice. But during, like, all the ridiculous parts, we were fucking dying. And I was like, man, I guess
that's how that movie's supposed to go, though, honestly. Yeah. So everyone else is like, I thought this was a horror film. This isn't Jason. What's going on here? These people are laughing. Have some goddamn respect. All right, that's the end of the pod, everybody. Thank you for listening. We really, really appreciate y'all for tuning in for this one. Marco, let them know how they can reach us.
You can listen and follow us on your preferred podcast platform. We are everywhere. For a convenient link to all our social media channels, visit linktree/moviepalspod. And remember, smash that subscribe button and you'll never miss an episode in this field or the next.
Plus, catch us on TikTok for sneak peeks of upcoming episodes and more exciting moving content. Follow us at MoviePalsPod.
Make sure to tune in for our next episode, podcast episode number 199, where we will be ending our voyage into Star Trek with a review of Star Trek Section 31, as well as reviewing possibly the final Mission Impossible film with Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning.
Thank you, Nabil. Until next time, this is James,
Marco,
Nabil,
and Mikey.
Have a great one.